what we do every day is we write our code and we send it out through whatever means, and we hope it lands well in our users' machines, right? I really like what these guys are doing. This is like far out in space, and then they're landing on this little tiny thing in the middle of the ocean. It's still, I don't know, maybe I'm old and that sort of thing's pretty cool, but that's pretty cool. So my name's Dave Laird. I'm working at Twitch. I'm Kiwi up over on GitHub and Twitter, and because I'm no longer down under. But I took this picture. This is a real place. If you're in New Zealand, it's really worth going. It's worth paying the $80 to drive into this place to look around these little. It was beautiful. New Zealand is this beautiful. Has anybody been to New Zealand? A couple people. Don't worry about going to Australia. Just go to New Zealand. Okay? Australia is for other people. Okay, so I'm going to talk about this. I may cut this down a little bit, but one thing, I'm going to talk about our app assets and their dependencies, and then I'm going to talk about per route performance. So for a long time, I've been working on Ember apps for a long time now, and one thing I don't think we're really tracking very well is how big are our apps when they land on the client's machine? Who actually tracks that? In your Ember app, who's tracking how big your Ember app is on a too big? We've got a too big back there. Who else is tracking their Ember app, whether they're using a different framework? Let me ask a more basic question. Who's brand new to Ember? Great. Okay, who's used other frameworks? React. Who's used Angular? And Backbone? Okay. So were you ever tracking how big your application was and how big it was getting over time to land on your client's application, on their device? Yeah? Great. So I've been wanting to know that for a long time. I remember that there is a graph of Ember's dependencies, Ember's app size that you can track over time. I can't remember where that URL was, but I remember at one point it just sort of spiked. You could see on this one commit, there was a big spike in Ember's code size. So, and I wonder about that when I'm using, you've seen tonight a lot of add-ons. When another developer adds an add-on, what did that actually do to our app size? Some guy's writing some CSS, they're using some Sass recursive stuff, and what did that do to your app? What is the impact to our users when it gets onto their machine? So I want to talk a bit about that. So I'm going to start with the app size stuff first. But first of all, we should know what the anatomy of our code, once we've written it and we're deploying it, this is what we're really sending down. We're sending some JavaScript, we're sending some CSS, and we're sending some HTML. Okay? And what that actually is there's a vendor.js file, which is the actual Ember code and not just the Ember code, but maybe Ember data and all of the other vendor dependencies, stuff that you didn't write. Does that make sense? So this is stuff you didn't write is in this vendor.js file, and then your app. So whether that was, I was working at GoDaddy, this would be our GoDaddy app, or at Twitch, there's an app here. That is the code that we have written as a company is in that app file. And then the same thing for CSS. And then we have an index.html file. This is what we send off to our clients. This is pretty much the basic stuff there. There may be some images that are coming from different places. There may be some other JavaScripts that are put into your index.html, some Google Analytics and some other things like that. But basically, this is what we are sending to our clients. Does that make sense? Okay, you may want to track your font sizes and your image sizes, but I think this is a good start. Okay, so did you guys know that in your Ember, in ember-cli, there's actually a command to find out the sizes of your app? You can run this command, ember-asset-sizes. So what I'm going to do is I have this little app here that I've written for my kids. My kids babysit. My wife organizes their babysitting and doesn't tell me when they're babysitting. And my friends come to my house to pick up the babysitter, and the babysitter doesn't know and I don't know. So I wrote this little app to help with that. So everyone gets an alert when they're supposed to babysit. So it's just a really simple thing. There's a little schedule here. There's the clients. I didn't really know. This is really my friends, and then my mum and my kids here that babysit. Does that make sense? It's a little tiny app, but I'm going to use it as an example. So I'm going to, on this app here, you can't see that, and you don't want to print it. Can you see that? Okay, so I'm going to run Ember. So we can all do this right now from your apps. If you run a build, so you can run Ember build production, and it will build into the dist folder, and you can run this, and this is the size of my application. But this is nice for right now. What I really wanted to do is, what is that doing over time? Okay, so I wrote an add-on that we're going to add here. I'm just going to walk through the flow of what that looks like, of adding an add-on, tracking that, what that looks like. Okay. So bear with me. If you want to leave, if you feel like going, it's okay. What time? We're at 8:30. So I said we'd talk to 8:30, and obviously it's that time. So if you feel like leaving, it's okay. You've paid your dues. You can leave. So Ember install. There's this great, inside the Ember ecosystem, there's this thing called a project that has actually happened to come about by 3 or 4, I think there was 4 different projects inside the Ember ecosystem that were helping with deploys. And a few years ago, they all merged together to become ember-cli-deploy. So it's a deploy system. So you can deploy to S3 or to Azure, or there's a whole bunch of places and tools in there. There's a bunch of plugins that work as a plugin system. So you can put in pieces at different points in the build steps or in the deploy steps to help you track different things. So I'm using ember-cli-deploy, and I'm adding this one here called asset-sizes. Okay, so Ember install asset-sizes. We're going to use some npm pieces. I think I've got a fast internet connection than you guys, so that's good. Just going to put some power in here. Okay, so what that's done is it's added this add-on. We need to now add some configuration. So we're using this. I'm just going to look at the documentation here. It tells me that I'm supposed to add this. I should say one more thing here. I'm using an analytics tool called keen.io. So basically, this is just an endpoint that I can send requests to and pull requests out of, similar to Mixpanel or Google Analytics or something like that. This is just a data collector that I can query and push stuff to. I don't really have to set up a scheme. I can just push a JSON payload at it and then retrieve data. Does that make sense? Okay. But this add-on at the moment relies on keen.io. What's that? Yeah. So that was Jake saying, I'm going to help you. Yep, oops, is right. So I've got these keys. So there's some there's a project key and a write key here. I'm just going to grab these from my backup code here. Where am I? Okay, I think I can. That wasn't. Yeah, this isn't the right place. I'm going to paste these here though, and then copy it over to the right place. Okay, so at this point, we're actually dealing with deployment. So there's what ember-CLI deploy gives you is a deploy file with a bunch of configuration points you can put in here. So I'm going to put these configuration points in this. You can maybe see up there it says deploy.js. So now we have this configuration in here. I can now say on my client, the way that you deploy with ember-CLI deploy is to say ember deploy production, and now it's building the app, and then right after that it's going to send as a after the build it's going to send this data off to king.io. We can see there king data was sent. It's really sexy, similar to Kelly's app. So now we can look. We can look here and we can see that we've got some events that just happened a few minutes ago. This is our vendor.js, and we've got a size here. So now we're pushing data here. So if we do another deploy, we've got some more data, but we need a good way to view that data, right? So what I'm going to do right now is we're going to build a brand new Ember application, and we're going to make it our dashboard. So I've made this little thing to make it easy to start a dashboard of these sort of data, this sort of data for you to track these things. Does that make sense? I'm going to say, does that make sense? And you can just say yes, even though it doesn't make sense.
Yes.
Sorry, I have to say that. I don't know why.
So much sense. Tell me more.
Oh man. Okay, so this is the way, I'm using ember-CLI for people who have never used Ember before. It's a command line tool that we use for building our applications, for adding add-ons into our applications, for updating our Ember applications. It's been a really great tool for the community. It's amazing. So here I'm using ember-CLI. I can say ember new, and we're going to call it my dashboard. You have to watch me. And my spelling. My dad was a teacher, but somehow that didn't translate. Okay, so this is now building the application. It's going to give us a really great structure for our app. I keep looking at you because you're new to Ember, so I'm sorry, man. You are the guy. So this is going to give us a structure for our application. Where do things go? What should be in the right places? And every time that I open up code with any guys here, I know exactly where everything is. It's not different between different people's applications. There may be a few quirks in different places, but most of the time it's the same. It's really great. So this is, we're waiting on NPM here. Let's go back to some slides here. So what I did was ember-asset-sizes, and then we use this ember-CLI-deploy-asset-sizes. Right? Now what we're doing is we're doing ember new, and we're making this brand new app, and we're going to add in ember-dashboard. Okay? Once this is done here, okay, it's done. CD into my app. I can just say ember-serve here. We'll go to a different port. This is a way to go to a different port. So now this is building our app. It's using a tool called Broccoli to build our assets. Obviously, we're using ES6 and we're using Babel to compile our stuff. You saw that from Kelly that Babel is a dependency of ember-CLI. Now I can go to our new app here. Because was it like this, right? This is great. So now we've got a brand new app. This is the little welcome screen we have for our app these days when you start up a brand new Ember app. So the very first thing I want to do is remove that. What is it called? Let's just open up the code here. What's that? Okay, I'm opening up the code. Come on, Adam. Okay, here it is. So I'm looking at my package JSON, and way down at the bottom here we have the Ember welcome page. I'm just going to remove that because that was really nice, but we don't need that anymore. And now I'm going to add I'm going to install Ember, what was it called? Ember-dashboard, that's right. And I have a shortcut E to Ember because I use it all the time, and I'm going to say, could say that. It's kind of weird. Oh. Okay. So ember-dashboard. So this is an add-on. This add-on has a couple of routes in it and some components. And it also needs a little bit of configuration for Keen.io to know where to go to get data. So we're going to add that configuration right now. There's an environment. This is some configuration about our environments. So in here, I'm going to add I think that's right. Oh, settings. That's good. I'm just going to get that other, this is the read key. So don't copy that down, okay? And you need a comma at the end. Okay, so what we have now is we have this brand new application that's now going to use this Ember dashboard. We've put in some configuration, and what's going to happen is it's going to read our data from our stuff that we're pushing from our actual application. Does that make sense? It's clear? Clear as mud?
Yes, Dave, it makes so much sense.
Okay, so now we're going back to this, and hopefully this, we never restarted the server. We need to restart the server because we've added some dependencies. Boom. Oh, look at that. So here you go, you've got your assets over time. So let's have a quick look at what we can do to these asset sizes if we just add a couple of components. Does that sound like fun? Ah, that's good. You guys are following along well. So Ember, I just saw this one the other day. Ember install Ember Lodash. Okay, we'll do the deploy. So, from what I said, which one should go up in size, and how big should that go up? The vendor. Oh, the vendor, good. We just have to wait a minute. I think this is offset by a minute, so we may have to wait on that. Anybody else got another add-on that they would like to? Like that? But this is great. So now it's overriding my application and asking me, hey, do you want me to overwrite this file or not? And I can push D here to say, hey, what's the diff? No, I'm just going to add this myself. I'm going to say no. Okay. Where was that file? That was in app assets. It's the. It's good to have friends. Okay, styles, and we had here, and we put it in here, right? Okay, and now let's deploy again. Run back over here. It would be great if we had a spinner. Oh, look at that. So there we go. Did it. I made our app bigger for our customers just by adding Ember Lodash. Okay? One thing I'd really like about Lodash, and Lodash has been split apart into small modules. I would love it if I just added one piece of Lodash, and only one piece of Lodash would be added to my actual app that's given to the clients. You know what I mean? Okay, so here we'll try this again. Okay, before that, inside ember-dashboard, I've added this thing I wrote called ember-cli surge. Anybody heard of surge, SH? Surge, what surge is a static site host. So you can put your applications up there for free. If it's just the front end that's calling off to some other APIs, you can just put your code up there for free. Like it doesn't, you know, Heroku costs some money. If everybody uses this stuff all the time, it's going to cost Kelly some money. So, but it does need a backend. But this doesn't need a backend. It's calling off to some other service. So I can say here on our dashboard, Ember surge. What's that? I have to install the add-on. Next week you won't have to install the add-on. It should come as a dependency, I think. It's called ember-cli surge. So while that's running, let's have a look at our code over here. What did PowerSelect do? Oh, another almost as big as Lodash. That's crazy. So let's do one more piece over here. It's just added a few times. Got to be in the right app, right? Okay, we'll deploy that. Okay, let's go back over here. We're going to just run Ember Surge. So this is going to build our app. If you haven't created an account with ember-cli Surge, or if you haven't created an account with Surge, it will ask you right here to create an account. Either you log in or create an account. So it's already logged. I'm already logged in. It's Kiwi up over. It's already built, and now I have my dashboard. Now, the other great thing about out on the web, I should say, finishing that sentence. The great thing about Surge as well is it also is pushing your code out to CDNs around the world. So this should be super fast. Okay, so did our CSS changes actually affect any change? Nothing. Is that the way that SAS works? If you import something multiple times, it doesn't override itself? Does SAS work like that? It would dedupe it. Okay, well that's nice. Okay, so here's a way for you to get a dashboard out that is tracking your asset sizes over time. And how long do we take? Not 15 minutes? 5 if you're fast, if you're not talking to a crowd of people and can type. Okay, I'm gonna jump over here. Let's go back to the slides really fast. Okay, so we've done this. We've added, we've made a brand new Ember app. We've added Ember dashboard. So now I want to talk about the details. So there's a guy named Runspired who's written this add-on that actually extends the ember-cli, when you say ember asset sizes, this actually extends that and goes into each package. And how big is each package? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go into Ghost Ghost is a blogging platform that the admin's written in Ember, and I'm going to actually run this on that site to see exactly what are the dependencies in the app. Does that make sense?
Yes.
How many times did I say that now? Damn it.
Yes, David. All makes sense.
Thanks, mate. Okay, so here. I wish I could change that. It just is not. Okay, so what I've done here is I've got the Ghost admin, and I've added this add-on. Does that make sense? ember-cli shim. So what I'm going to do is just run. I think this is something that we need to be doing in our application on a as we go to the time of like, hey, we really need to look at our stuff and see whether some things need to change in our app. This is something that you could add in and run just to make sure that we have the things in the app that we think we have in the app. Or if you're looking for some things that maybe you could cut down, or what could we cut out of our code that I'm writing that would make it lighter to pass off to our clients. So this is going to run a build. This takes a little bit more time. Should we do something else as well? Okay, here it comes. Here it comes. We'll wait. Okay. So here you can see a lot of the add-ons that this application has, and the sizes of those applications. Of those add-ons, I should say. I shouldn't say applications, these are add-ons here. Ember Power Select, as we saw, is reasonably large. Ember Light Table, you guys are using Light Table as well? Okay. Simple Auth, Liquid Tether is like a tethering app. You can pop something up in the page and have it tied to some other element in the page. And then as we go down here, we can actually see our assets and then their minified version as well. So very soon to the ember-dashboard, I'm going to add the minified, I'll add a graph for minified code as well. So Ember, out of the box, as you're doing a build, we'll give you gzipped asset sizes as well. So obviously there's a bunch of fonts here and images. The thing that was really interesting to me looking at this was this asset, this image here is huge. Does it really need to be that size? So that's another add-on. Okay, now we're going to go back. The very last piece of this here is per route performance. So in our applications, we're going from one route to another route. And I think this was something that I needed. I really needed some sort of way of helping our performance team at GoDaddy. They were on our back. They said, you cannot release your app unless each page is loading under 2 seconds in Phoenix. That's the headquarters is in Phoenix, so that means a little bit longer in other parts of the country. And I'm like, how can I get that data about page load time to the performance team so that they know that things are, that the app is performant? And then I had to go and explain, well, actually, this is actually just one page. So they were coming back and saying, well, when we go to this route, it seems a little longer. I'm like, well, actually, what's happening is it's loading the same index.html, but it has a different API call that this is making that makes this page slower. They did care. But they thought it was a different page because they were really used to server-side rendered pages. They're like, oh, this page over here and this page over here. I'm like, well, actually, it's the same application that's grabbing these pages. Okay, so I think in the last, we're going to, in 5 minutes, we're going to add some, a way to do this. And that we were able to get, when someone clicks on a link to go to another route, we're going to get the transition time from when that starts to when the page is actually rendered. And we're going to send that off to Keen.io as well. Is that okay? This is one thing that we can do in Ember because of the way the ecosystem's built to know when the last piece of code is rendered. This is something you can't do. The other teams at GoDaddy were using React, and they're like, Dave, how do you do this? And I'm like, well, there's this great thing called ember-perf. And we know what's being rendered, so we're able to get this perf. So those guys on the other teams had to figure out which component is being rendered and what is the start a piece, end a piece, and manage the timing, where we don't have to do that in Ember. Okay, so let's add that. Kill this. Going back to our trusty client. This is another add-on, ember-perf. Okay, so we have to add a couple of things here. There's a generator to run. What is a generator? Let's go to the documentation. Okay, so I need to run this generator here that's going to create some initializers for us. So we've got a couple of initializers that have been created. And now, let's get out of here. So we can see these initializers. So in this instance initializer, ember-perf, there's a notion inside ember-perf of a service that there are two hooks here. So on transition complete, you can fire off data, and then there's another one that you can actually put some hooks into a component. So in some of our applications, there's some very critical paths that we want to know how long does it take for these components to run. You can put some data in here and send off that render complete. But what we're going to do is just put some stuff into that transition complete here. So and chain. I can't remember what, yeah, that's right. It's called send events, send event. So we need to do one more thing, is we need to add some configuration here. I'm just going to take these two pieces out of here. This is all in the documentation. We need a column. Okay, so now when I go back to our application, I need to restart it because we've added some add-ons. It's over here. Okay, so each time I click on these, we're actually sending data up to keen.io for each one of these. I guess got a text message. Okay, so let's have a quick look at that data, and then we'll so the next piece that we're going to add to the Ember dashboard is a graph for this data. So let's do a count. Need to refresh this. What did I do wrong here?
It says send event not defined.
What's that?
It says send event isn't defined. Is it the right
Let's just see if we actually have key. No, ember keen, let's add that. So some of these add-ons, it's really great to have this add-on ecosystem to do things like this. Restart the server again. No errors now, that's good. Okay. Let's say okay, so here we can see which page is taking the longest to load. Is that making sense? So I don't know if you can, oh no, not me. So it's basically saying the schedules index is the longest, the sitters, those API, really a lot of it is API time. You could see, if you actually track the transition time, so inside of here where we're getting the transition time. So let's say average here, and we'll do this on elapsed time by destination route, and we'll do it over a minute. See if this gives us something helpful. Maybe if we cut this down to a day. Anyway, you can see how this could be helpful, how you can pull this data apart and have a look at where are some places that we could look where some data to actually show the business people what's going on. Does that make sense? Okay, so I'm going to leave up the last slide here. So that was ember-perf. So these are the four add-ons I was talking about tonight. I'm just going to leave them up there, and thank you very much.